Welcome to the Diary of a Pan-African Preacher. There's an African proverb that says, an elephant that kills a rat is not a hero. I once worked for an organization that prided itself on being progressive and fair, one that strongly rejected the idea of being institutionally racist. Yet what it failed to recognize was that beneath its liberal policies and progressive stance, there were assumptions, structures, and relationships that I was not a part of. These were privileges enjoyed by others within the organization, creating an environment in which I was at a distinct advantage. At the United Nations, there are certain assumptions held by small nation states that are not based on reality, but rather on fantasy. Take, for instance, European nations met in Westphalia, northwestern Germany, in 1648 and established the principles of national sovereignty and national territorial integrity. This was at the same time as Africans were being trafficked across the Atlantic Ocean as cargo and chattel. These principles would later form the philosophical foundation of the United Nations Charter, particularly Article 2.4. This article prohibits the threat or use of force against any state's territorial integrity or political independence, upholding the sovereignty and integrity of nation states. What is often overlooked is that these principles were never applied equally to all nations. In 1884-85, the very same European powers that held these principles felt entitled to gather and divide up the African continent for their own development and interests, disregarding the sovereignty of the African nations. What this highlights is the selective application of the principles of self-determination, the right to self-determination, non-intervention, and even equality of the states. These principles are only upheld when they serve the interests of powerful nations. In recent weeks, we have seen the collision of two conflicting ideas in the Caribbean. The notion of make America great again and the reality of not in my backyard. The current administration in the United States has announced its intention to withdraw visa privileges to Caribbean government officials and their families who may support Cuba's medical missions. Even more recently, it was made clear that Caribbean nations with citizenship investment programs risk facing a U.S. travel ban. The search for America's era of greatness is indeed an elusive one. The Caribbean nations should be mindful of the fact that the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity have never been consistently applied to the region. History serves as a stark reminder that the United States has regularly intervened in the internal affairs of Caribbean nations. That has been so in Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Grenada, Haiti, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, and Puerto Rico. Whether through gunboat diplomacy, dollar diplomacy, or visa diplomacy, these interventions underscore the reality that the United States has historically done whatever it wanted to, regardless of the sovereignty of these nations. Ashe.